Malole ni sampula minaka in Pacific. Warm greetings to us all, especially to you, Fe'iloakitau kaho Tevi, or as many of us know you as Fe. Welcome to this Talanoa. Good to see you and to be in this space.
Good to see you again, Mele.
Yeah, malo.
Thank you.
I'm honoured and humbled to host our Talanoa today with the hope we leave here not the same. That
Right.
what you are to share stirs and grounds us to where God is calling us to be.
Thank you.
Now, let's be honest, trying to summarize your work, Faye, as well as your life in just a few lines is like trying to fit the Pacific Ocean into a coconut shell. But I'll give it a go. So Faye is currently co-Vicar General of the Anglican Diocese of Polynesia. He's a member of the General Standing Committee, sits on the St. John's Trust Board, and is our very first Climate Commissioner in the province. Faye trained as a development entrepreneur and diplomat, and previously served as General Secretary of the Pacific Conference of Churches. He's advised Pacific Island governments, convened high-level think tanks. His voice is a trusted presence in regional and global conversations, and he brings that unique blend of depth, faith, diplomacy, and down-to-earth humour to every space he enters, whether it's at the UN or the local whale. Faye, you carry a portfolio that speaks of service to our region, our province, and the planet with integrity, courage, and prophetic voice. It is a delight to have you today. So to begin our Talanoa, we'll start with the questions that matter most. What's your soul food? You can interpret that. You can interpret that spiritually, literally. And who have been the key people who formed your faith in the Anglican Church?
Okay. Soul food, lucipi and yam. Or fried fish, cabbage and coconut milk. You like a third one? No.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Let's do it now.
Yeah.
But the personalities that formed my involvement with the Anglican Church, of course, is my dad, the late Canon Sunipa Tevi, and also my mom, who, as a staunch Methodist, gave me some of those values that was very dear to her. And being raised as both an Anglican and a Methodist, one becomes ecumenical very quickly in the family, and so. That's the basis of my involvement. I didn't come to the Anglican Church until lately. In the family, there's a number of priests and an archbishop, and so at that time, I said to the family, I said, "There's enough priests in the family. Maybe we need somebody to go and do something else." But now that many of them have passed on, I felt it was time that we dipped our fingers and our toes into the Anglican ethos and the Anglican community and family.
We'll move to the Moana.
Sure.
The big conversations you've been helping to steer with climate change.
Yep.
At the Compass Rose meeting in
Yes.
Fiji, climate change was front and centre. You helped draft the Pacific Islands Development Summit paper, calling for urgent action and that vital global target to keep warming below 1.5 degrees. For those of us who don't know where to start or who feel overwhelmed about this climate change, how would you begin this Talanoa?
Let's first define what climate change is. The normal definition one gives to climate change is the exacerbation of extreme weather patterns. So if you have rain, you'll have more rain. If you'll have sun, you'll have more sun. And if you'll have snow, you'll have more snow. But of course, we are limited by the seasons. And so when you have more snow and less rain, then it begins to complicate nature and complicate the environment and complicate the way we live, the patterns of life that we have, the patterns of Mother Nature. And so for us in the Pacific, it might mean a little bit more rain. So that means that, oceans tend to rise a little bit more because the icebergs are melting. So the oceans tend to rise a bit more. That means there's less land or islands to work with, and because of sea level rise, etc., etc., etc.
As our very first climate commissioner in the Anglican Church of Aotearoa, New Zealand and Polynesia, what's on the agenda?
One is that we need to bring the issue of oceans to the front and center of discussion. In many sector or secular areas, the focus on oceans is there as a priority. Unfortunately, in faith-based organizations and faith-based language and advocacy and lobbying, oceans tend to not be there. Sure. And there's a clear focus on continents, on land, landscapes, yes. But very little on oceanscapes or seascapes, as we say. And so there's a need for us to begin to maybe shift the focus or include the focus of oceans into any faith-based discussion, any faith-based language that would involve the churches coming together, especially the Anglican Communion.
Yeah. And what might that sound like? Like, what's the language around in churches?
When we talk about stewardship of God's creation, for example. Right. When we talk about stewardship of God's creation, of course, when we think about creation, we think about the land, and other things. But there's also God's creation in the sea. Mm-hmm. And then when we talk about the seas, we talk about things that are in the sea and in the ocean that are not yet to be discovered. So when you talk about stewardship of God's creation, you also make reference to the principle of precautionary approach, yes. Where you need to know things before you actually go down and dig it up.
Sure.
You need to know the consequences of what you're digging and how you're digging. That's going to basically disrupt whatever ecosystem there is at the bottom of the seas and the oceans. And so these are the types of languages that we need to create, and we need to make reference to a faith and to a theology, to a theological reflection. And so bringing about oceans as a focus also means, Mele, that we need to bring back the notion that ocean is life-giving and hope-giving. When we treat the ocean with respect, the ocean gives back to us. The principle of tapu, which is where you restrict the use and you restrict the consumption of a certain species of fish or seashell or something, it will come back tenfold, right?
Yeah.
So that principle that should be like replicated everywhere else, and it is being replicated. When you look at in the secular world, they call it marine protected areas.
Yeah, sure.
But in our traditional societies, it's always been there. When you said, okay, the chief will say, we've got a festival next year, right, that we need to prepare for. And then he will almost obviously says, okay, between now and December, tapu on fish.
Yeah.
Right? So and in this particular area.
Yeah.
And so what they do is that the village does not go and fish in that particular area. Then guess what? After 6 months,
yes,
the yield is tenfold because we didn't touch it. Right? And so those types of principles and those types of traditional indigenous practices are what the ocean gives back to us.
Yes, yeah.
So it's life-giving for us. And we should maybe begin to spread that message that oceans is also about life-giving.
What are some of the key things the Anglican Church is already doing to tackle climate change?
What we've done as the Anglican Communion is that we've made climate change a focus. And a lot of the bishops in their networks in South Africa and other places, in other regions, other parts of the world, the Anglican Communion has focused on initiatives taken by the communities to raise awareness, but also to tackle climate change. Yeah? In the Pacific, in our church, we've come about it in different ways. We realized at the beginning that when a disaster struck, the first area or the first entity or body that people go to is the church hall.
Right.
In terms of evacuation.
Right.
The first people that they look to are often the priests and the clergy. Right? And then Thirdly, that the clergy and the churches are in the communities compared to governments and other entities that are in the capital. So we say to ourselves, how can we build on that? How can we build on first responders who are there before the disaster strikes, during the disaster, and they are the first responders after the disaster has hit, right? And then the discussion very quickly went from we as the vulnerable people of the Pacific Island countries to we as resilient communities who are able to adapt, who are able to use the elements that we have in our communities, who are able to use our relationships within the communities to help each other respond to climate change and respond to natural disasters. So that was, in essence, the first engagement of the church with regards to climate change back in early 2000. Right? And after that, we began looking at how we could build a methodology that would allow us to understand who we are and who we were as a community. Yes. We needed to know where our elders were. We needed to know where our single mothers were. We needed to know which houses were vulnerable and liable to fall in the event of a cyclone, right? So we had to build that knowledge and that database, and we had to use a toolkit that we call the Community Integrated Vulnerability Assessment Toolkit, CIVA. Right? And with this toolkit, we were able to then go around and assess the ability of our villages to adapt to and to be resilient towards climate change.
Yeah.
Right? And so with that toolkit, we then were able to, the beginnings of it was in 2017. In response to Tropical Cyclone Gita in Tonga, this community, after having gone through the training of CIVA, we got together 12 hours before the cyclone, sitting inside Fasi in this church, the community hall, and we said to ourselves, okay, how much money do you have? I said to myself, well, I only have this much. And then we went to see the community parish priest, who at that time happened to be Archbishop Sione. And we asked Archbishop Sione, how much money do you have, Archbishop? Archbishop said, maybe $100. Okay. So we collected money, about $300 worth. Right? And we knew that we had 6 elderly women, single mothers. We had elderly people. So all in all, it came to about 10 families. So with that $300, we went and bought tinned fish, biscuits, some fresh water, some matches, and some candles. And we divided up into 10 packs. And those were at the this is the beginning of the work of the church in terms of involving, giving a systematic, institutionalized response to climate change.
Wow.
Right? That's how we did it. $300 and the goodwill of the young people. We went to visit each and every one of those 10 families and said to them, are you okay?
Yeah.
This is to help you through the disasters. We will come and see you after the hurricane. And for many of the responders, many of those who we visited, the mere fact of just coming to ask them, are you okay? That was enough for them. They would say, thank you very much. We'll be fine. Right? And then after the disaster, we went and saw them again. And asked them, are you all right? What do you need? And so on and so forth. Right? So this practice of involving the young people, responding to the church needs, church community needs, and responding to those who are marginalized and vulnerable in our communities, that's the basis of the work that we do on climate change. Right? And we build from there. Right? So now CIVA is into its second iteration, where we're looking at how we can help the church with their church role. Right? And that is each church or a parish that we will go to, we can work with the parish priest or the parish vestry for them to go out and understand who their parishioners are and where they stay. And this toolkit allows one to do that. And guess what, Mele? We didn't have to depend on apps and everything from overseas.
Yes.
This was generated from within the church, generated by young people, and it comes from the living experience of how we lived through disasters. So we've come from $300 to 6 containers worth of equipment, building materials, etc., etc.
It's pastoral care 101, where the wisdom and the insight come from within, and like you shared with young people, that transfer and that passing on that knowledge and lived experiences of our parents, of what they did in the disasters. Just pastoral care 101. At the primatial communications meeting, you spoke about oceans, as you have mentioned before, and the importance of equipping our youth with the ancestral knowledge and navigation skills. Tell us, what is the spiritual significance of traditional navigation in our Pacific cultures?
Well, if you know traditional navigation, when we do traditional navigation, there is a certain respect that one gives to the ocean.
That's right.
You never underestimate the ocean.
Yeah.
And you have to practically fear the ocean, right? Because of that respect for the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay? And so it points towards our culture, it points towards our tradition, it points towards our identity as Pacific Islanders.
Yeah.
Traditional navigation is in our blood, whether we like it or not. We have that alignment with the ocean.
Yeah.
Right? The late Professor Tevi was, talked about us bleeding salt water.
Wow.
Or salt water runs in our veins.
Yeah.
Hauofa talks about that as well. Right? Pele Hauofa. So we have this affinity with the ocean. We have this affinity with traditional navigation. And it's part of us and it's part of who we are. The spiritual significance of this is that we look towards constellations to guide us. Right? We look towards the ocean and we feel the ocean waves to take us to our destination. Right? Contrary to European navigation, where you go from A to B, in our traditional navigation, B comes to us. It comes. We see it on the rise, it comes to us. And so our whole understanding is centered on our surroundings,
Yes.
and our knowledge of the ocean and how the ocean currents work and all of that. So there is biblical references to it, and I'm sure you, Mele, as a theologian, you can find those references. Right? But for us, it's our culture is based on that.
Yes.
When we say goodbye, we say goodbye. Right? When we farewell someone, and it's ingrained in our culture that we almost cry because we don't know when we're going to see that person again.
That's right.
If we're going to see that person again. Right? And it's always heartbreaking to leave. Right? But there is that resilient nature of the Pacific Islanders that we've conquered an ocean. We've been able to travel from one side of it to the other and back. Right? And so we have this resilient nature in us. And we have it, and it's not so much about dividing up what is Christian theology and what is traditional belief, right? For us, it comes together. It comes together when we begin to talk about nature, begin to talk about our respect for nature, how our ancestors are with us all the time. They're not dead. They are around us. They are with us. And we pay that respect to them. So it's there. It's in the blood. Right? We cannot disassociate our identity as Pacific Islanders from the ocean and from traditional navigation.
The Anglican Church, what is it doing, or what is it supporting when it comes to restoring and celebrating just what you've shared about traditional navigation?
Excuse me. The Anglican Diocese of Polynesia has a school that's called St. Andrew's High School. And in St. Andrew's School, there is a group of students who are wizards in terms of geniuses in terms of using their hands. We established, the Archbishop Emeritus Winston Alapua established a Center for Traditional Navigation in St. Andrews High School back in 2018, 2019. At that time, unfortunately, we didn't have the funding. Now we've got the funding, we've got the people, we've got the interest. And so we are starting up classes for these particular students on traditional navigation.
That's great.
Right? So 2 weeks per term, they will be taken on these courses by our Tongan skipper, our Nofo, Javier. And this is to teach our students traditional navigation. In the later half of this year and next year, we will be commissioning Vakas to go around New Zealand, Aotearoa, New Zealand, to stop at the various ports of call with a message of oceans, around oceans. And it is that, for example, tomorrow we will arrive into Gisborne. And news then goes to the community and the parishes in Gisborne. The Vaka is coming. And it has a message about oceans.
Yes.
And so that message will be then spread, shared in that community. Then the Vaka goes to another community. So for the whole of the next, maybe starting from August, September, depends when everything is ready.
Yes.
Right all the way through for a whole year, we'll be traveling and visiting these communities and spreading the word and promoting the issue of oceans as far as we understand it as the church. Not only will we do around New Zealand, we will also take that message to Fiji, Tonga, and Samoa, the Diocese of Polynesia. After we've done that, we'll be ready to take that message to the 31st COP or Conference of Parties supposedly in Australia, right? That we're going to hold in Australia. So this is one of the attempts or initiatives that we're hoping that it will get off the ground, and that will take this message of hope, ocean as hope-giving, ocean as life-giving,
yes,
around the communities in New Zealand, and then going to the Pacific Island countries, and then taking that message through to Australia. Our presence in this big oceans conference is to remind them that we are a diocese that is perhaps the biggest diocese of oceans in the world. Right? We have more ocean than we do have landmass in our church, and so in our province. So this is who we are, and as a church that's full of salt water or oceans, we cannot sit back and have a conference and have other faith-based organizations talk about ocean. We've got a role to play. We've got a language to give. We've got a message to give them about oceans. And that message, like I said, is a message that's based on the theological reflections of our archbishops.
Yes.
It's based on the messaging that we're coming through from our synods, and the work, and it's based on the work that our young people are doing around disaster preparedness.
Yes.
So, ocean as life-giving, oceans as hope-giving. Our work on disaster preparedness, where we are prepositioning supplies in and around our diocese, right, to use in the event of a cyclone, or in the event of a natural disaster. Right? So for us, it's all about that. It's all about giving or taking that message to the Oceans Conference, and we're working very closely with Anglican Communion to do that. Martha Jarvis from the Anglican Communion, very closely with her to get this messaging through.
Awesome. And what kind of networks, sort of relationships, do you hope to see grow out of this global gathering?
Well, one is to squarely put the Anglican Church of Aotearoa, New Zealand and Polynesia on the map. That if you talk about oceans, this is a reference.
Yes. Yeah.
A faith-based organization, a reference for faith-based organizations. And that is us. And we've got a language, we've got a message to give, we've got a gift to give to the world and to the Anglican Communion. And this is something that we would like to offer to the world. Our messaging, our way of looking at things, how we view the ocean, how we give that respect to the ocean, how the ocean is part of us, and we are part of the ocean. And I think that's a unique message from us to the world and to the Anglican communion.
Yes, a very unique and big, generous offering to the world from a humble nations here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and Polynesia as well. Malo pito Fei. In closing now, we're going to close with our last questions. Shift from global to a more deep spiritual sense of the flourishing of all creation. Te oranga ake o te iwi o te ao is that a vision grounded in aroha, love, rongo, peace, and hari, joy. What does a life grounded in aroha look like to you, Fei?
I cannot help but think about the marginalized and the excluded of our community and our church, our Anglican diocese of Polynesia. And here we talk about the descendants of the Melanesian indentured blackbirding legacy, where Solomon Islanders and Niuean men and women and children were taken from their villages to work the sugarcane fields in Fiji.
Sure. Yeah.
They are now, or they were, or the Anglican Church was given care to take care of these communities. And they now form a majority of our church, of our Diocese of Polynesia. Their legacy for us and how we deal with them, how we deal with their issues, how we deal with their pain and their legacy and their history will be the example of what I would call a life grounded in aroha. They will exemplify how we as a diocese understand a life grounded in aroha. Right? We need to start with them, the marginalized and the excluded of our communities.
Another aspect is rongo, peace. How do you live a life in peace?
I think about the stewardship of God's creation. I think about my role as a steward and a guardian of God's creation. And if I am to live in peace, I must make sure that my the creation that I'm living in or my environment is also flourishing. Right? Without the environment flourishing, I cannot live in peace. Right? So that's one of the big ones for me. Stewardship of God's creation is an important element towards living in peace. Living in peace with ourselves, living in peace with our environment, living in peace with our communities. And also it's all about living within your own limits and your own, being humble and not trying to live beyond what you can, you just need one car, not three.
Right? I think I need three. But, yeah. Beautiful. Well, yeah, thank you for that. And finally, hari, joy. What are the fruits of a life that seeks joy?
Let me tell you a story, if I can answer that in this way.
Yeah.
I was asked to, when I was in my, when I was doing college, in my undergrad, I was given as minors in religion. So I was asked to first identify what are the true words of Christ, what are the true message, or the true words that were said by Jesus, and the true sayings of Jesus, and then to derive what the message of those sayings were. I answered the first part, but I didn't answer the second part, right? And there was a big question as to why I didn't answer the second part. And I said to my professor that if I was to answer the second part, I would be held accountable to it. I'd rather leave it in my heart and make sure that I'll try my best in my lifetime to achieve it. And that's how I would answer this question, the last one. I'd leave it in my heart, and I would attempt myself to live up to my understanding of aroha and hari and joy.
Yes. Beautiful. Mao Pitofe. That's beautiful. How you have given wisdom and given passion to the flourishing of creation within ourselves, as well as around us as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mele.
Whai malo pito.
Malo pito.
Apapa to kia koe. I ho'o wahi. God bless you, and God bless the voyage you are on, as you have blessed us with wisdom, your heart for justice, and the care and love for creation, our people and our planet. Pinaka waka level.
I love it.